So that was a close one last time. Now after the propaganda phase, we've done the reset, except for the card draw. Well, the government hit their money limit right away because they had so much before, but then they ended up spending a lot on support activation. In part because there were terrors all over the place. So some of the places where they were taking actions, they had to take 2 actions because there's a terror or whatever. Over here they took, no, I think over here they took their bonus action from that first division, which I'm not too impressed with. That I thought it was going to be a much bigger factor in the game. The fact that I can slip police into places that I have control over, and also manage to move troops into those places later, it means that I am able to convert places without the bases. So it's not as big a deal. And in fact, I haven't built a base yet with the government. It's so expensive. It's, what is it, 3 cubes instead of the 2 for everyone else. Yeah, everything's more expensive for the government, though. Other players, though, well, mainly just recovery here. All that sabotaging that I laid down, none of that really mattered because the government had so much cash and they have so much aid coming in that they're going to hit that 99 limit. Looking into this next turn, it's kind of tough to tell what's going on. The AUC is going to be close no matter what because the FARC is doing so poorly. Support-wise, the government is still quite a ways away from being able to manage their full support. And, to me, we've got one more card. The government's got a lot of problems. They can't really focus on being the guy who stops other people anymore at this point. It's like they have to try and get their support up. And that's going to have to be their main goal, rather than, certainly the FARC they don't have to worry about at this point. They're so far behind. Maybe they can gain a lot of ground, but who knows. But the AUC is very capable of winning. They're at even right now. They're basically 1 space away from winning. The cartels, well, here if you added them up, they're at, and I've got to look and try to figure this out, they're 2 spaces back here, but wow, on this they're like 34 spaces ahead. Does that mean they're winning? I don't know. And this is such a pain. I flipped through this for a couple of minutes. It's buried somewhere here in this thing, and I found it may be in more than one place. But here's one instance of it. The government has total support for a margin, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at what the cartel, they have 0 resources and only 7 bases for a victory margin of -40. For the 0 resources, why don't they get penalized for the bases? What's up here? This is not spelled out at all well. So maybe they're at 34. I don't know. Or maybe they're at 34 -2. This is not the way to do the rules, though, to specify victory in some, tutorial or whatever. It should be better spelled out here. It's pretty simple for everyone except the cartels. I actually would say, oh, wait, take the lower of the following for the final. Okay, so for the final, they get the worst of the 2. Okay, that's simple enough. So here, if you were comparing against, I don't know which you'd take. I guess whichever's the lower they'd have to beat. So they would have had to actually come out ahead of the AUC, I guess. I don't know. But at the end of the game, I think it is well spelled out. So they have to do well in both. And if they're behind in one, they're penalized. So right now, if it were to end, I guess they'd be at -2, whereas the AUC is only at -1. That makes sense. If their money was lower than the limit, that would also be a penalty. And then, again, that's kind of fair. If you can't get your $40, then you're probably doing pretty poorly. All right. So let's take a look at what the cards are going to be. The first one, poppies. Growers and government eradication focuses on heroin source. Place or remove a shipment or insurgent base in any mountain department. That's kind of neat. I don't know how worthwhile it is. I mean, it makes the event interesting because I could cultivate for that shipment if I'm going first, which I am with the cartel. But if I do the cultivation, it'll be destroyed. I think basically I'll probably just an insurgent base. That's kind of interesting, though. Okay, and the second one, blocks. Permanently remove 3 available AUC guerrillas. Permanently remove. I would guess that means out of the game, right? That's pretty harsh. They may have to save up to play for that. Not that they have too much trouble saving up. They probably don't get an action otherwise. Place an AUC guerrilla in base in any department as their positive version. So this is kind of interesting because here's the thing. Most of these cards give the advantage to the guy who's getting hosed by them. So they have that option if they play well, especially with the pre-planning, where the basic rules where the card is shown a turn in advance. You have this chance to kind of say, oh man, I don't know. I don't want to do what I'm going to do. I need to deal with that card and prevent it from hurting me. The positive thing here is a propaganda card didn't come up. That would pretty much end the game. There's a lot of deck, though, which makes me think the fourth one, there's going to be a decent number of cards before the fourth one has a chance of coming up. Okay, we open this new segment of the game up with the Poppies card. The cartel ignored it and instead did a rally and a cultivate up to their bases as much as they could. They're all over the place. They're currently online for victory. That's obviously not going to last. In fact, they're not very defensible in some places. For example, here their bases could easily be destroyed by someone else's activities. But for the most part, they actually have at least one cover somewhere. The FARC followed up, taking the event and placed their own base into any mountain region that they like. They figured they're also pretty safe because the AUC, at least from everyone except the AUC is close to winning and they're not. In fact, that should be booped up one. Alright. That pushes these forward. Those guys didn't get to go. We get the blocks marker and Alfonso Cano. Opposition to neutral, or agitate also in up to 3 spaces with FARC peace and no government control. May agitate. Okay, so that's if the game doesn't end on the next propaganda phase. We go through the whole propaganda. You'd get some ability to upgrade some stuff during the next propaganda phase. This may be the edge to get you a victory for the FARC, so they may be very interested in this card. I don't think nobody can stop them. They're the first place choice there. I don't think anybody's interested, though, in neutralizing an opposition space at this point, except maybe the government player. Alright. Well, let's see what the AUC wants to do with those blocks. The AU triggered off the blocks event that got them a guerrilla in a base in any department. They threw it back here in the Amazon. Basically, they just need bases, and they want to get them away from where everyone else can kind of play. For the government, things were a little tougher. Because they've got this limitation card in play, or a chip in play for the rest of the game, their sweeps aren't very effective, but they wanted to do a sweep rather than using the airlift capability. They could do like an assault and an airlift and just go into an area hard and fast. They want to upgrade the support in an area. The way to do that is get control, make sure there's police and troops. There are police in a couple of locations. That kind of signals where they want to go. Beyond that, well, After that, they really have to kind of worry. So their other option are the airstrikes, where they could eliminate something. That would be valuable, but they can do an eradicate and eliminate all the bases in an area, and they hit Panama with that. It's a cheap turn for them, but it works out. We move this card here, and we'll pull another one. Pinto del Rosario. AUC guerrillas activate all police free assault AUC as if troops. Ooh. Well, the AUC is not really mixed with the troops much, so this isn't a big threat for anyone unless somebody, yeah, the government goes last on this, so they're not going to really hit there. They're not going to get a chance to use this unless it's used off that, and the government doesn't get a shot to use that card. On the other hand, the AUC would be able to get some guerrillas and a free terror and all kind of other bonuses. So that's kind of a tasty treat for the AUC on their next turn, where maybe it'll help them out. Nobody did anything with this. I am confused. I may have lost track and not moved a card over when I'm supposed to, but that doesn't quite make sense either. Anyway, no, I must have. But I don't know what I did, because I don't understand why red went before green. I think they fired this event off. Right? I don't know. I don't know where I am, because I've got red having done an event, and I mean, I haven't gone anywhere. Oh, they took the Cano event. Yes, they took the Cano event and played that. That's why I'm confused, because I was like, I thought I did that already. They took the Cano event, and then the cartels played a march, and Cultivate doesn't really help them, so they did a process, put all the shipments out. This gives them a position where even if the game ends with them not winning, they may be able to pump a bunch of bases out before the final tally is scored. And now we sweep these and these. Yeah, I got very confused because a card wasn't on top of there anymore that belonged. And our new one, Riverines and Fast Boats, you get to go quite quickly. And then a free op other than Patrol or March. That looks really interesting for kind of a violent move. I still think we got a lot of deck here. This looks like, you know, more than a quarter of the deck, and I've got 3 of these out. I may have shuffled though, and it could come up earlier than I expect. We never know if I stack the deck correctly. AUC did not want the event to come into play. They didn't particularly like their side of the event. It didn't help them much. Would hurt the government, but that's it. And they definitely didn't want the government to play its side, so they played for this operation only, did a rally, built up their bases. You can see they're up to 5. The government didn't like the idea of going with only a limited option with no bonuses. And this card's not completely interesting to them, but it looks like there's a good chance that they'll be able to get a decent option on it. Maybe not, though. If the cartel's not interested in playing the event either, well, at the very least, the event's not terrible. It's probably better, so I took a resource for that. I'm going to load this one up after I move this event. Gotta sweep things. Getting a little clunky with the activity. Limpieza. An insurgent faction executes a free terror with any guerrilla, removes any 2 enemy pieces in the space, and sets it to passive support or opposition. Unless 0 pop. This terror places 2 markers. Wow. I'm not entirely... That does a lot, and I'm not sure what the total effect is. I'm going to have to think about how valuable that card is. A lot of people are in play here, though. The FARC may not get a turn, actually. They probably won't.